Hey guys, it's Epic Underworlds, and this is episode 1 of TCG Academy, where I teach you how to make your very own handmade trading card games at home and build a community around them. Now, why handmade trading card games, you may ask? Well, I've been making digitalized games for so long now, but I keep coming back to the roots of when I started, back to making handmade games, and I just feel that they just have so much more appeal. The more I make them, the better I get, and it's something you can't get in digital TCGs. And these are often the easiest to make because all you really need is some art supplies and an imagination, and then you can just make a whole game and play it with your friends. So in this video, I'll be teaching you how to make a handmade game, not a digital one. A digital one will be for a different video probably in the future. First thing you gotta do is choose your medium. You can use any medium you want. Heck, I've even used markers on these little cards when I was younger, so you can definitely use markers. You can use Copics or Ahuhus, but I personally like using Prismacolor colored pencils. You can use any brand of colored pencils. It can even be a small set like this, just as long as you have enough colors to make some cool creatures with. Then what you're going to do is get a sketchbook. This sketchbook, you're going to be putting your lore for your game, your plans for your game, your notes, your design journal, and then all the cards. Now, a lot of creators like to get like crystal paper or cardstock, so it's really smooth for colored pencils and stuff, and then draw the cards in and cut them out. But I personally like to leave them in the sketchbook, so then I can just easily take a picture of them and print them out whenever I need to make more copies to play with my friends. So the first thing you're going to want to do when you get your sketchbook is write down a few different categories. Now, this can vary from creator to creator, but I always have a little why category, and in this why category, I fill out why I want to make this game. Am I trying to prove a message? Am I just making a game to play with my friends? Just want a fun experience? Or maybe you don't like Magic the Gathering or other card games like Yu-Gi-Oh! And you want to make a game that you like. Then you got your theme category. Choose a theme for your card game. You can honestly skip this step if you don't want to, but a lot of card games have themes like Greek mythology. Maybe it's spirits, religion, fantasy, dark fantasy, high fantasy, sci-fi. Maybe your card game is just filled with a bunch of animal characters. It's really up to you. So once you have those two questions answered, then you're gonna want to create a goal. What do you want out of this card game? Do you want to create 2 starter decks, then you and your friends can play? Or do you want to just create at least just 1 set of cards? Just make sure to make it a short-term goal and then digest it into a few different bullet points. Or if you say your first goal is to make a set of 50 cards, like a beta set to play test, write down when you want to get that done, how many cards you're going to be making a day, digest it into bullet points so then it's easy to achieve. Because if you kind of just go into making a card game blindly without having any goals or plans, then you're not going to be as productive and you honestly might get burnt out. Then you're going to have a little category of other things, like what is going to be driving you when you get burnt out. Maybe you can do some collabs with other creators. Maybe you do some contests for your game, like design a card art contest. Maybe you just focus on making really good videos for your game. Just have a little side category of other projects you want to do with your card game. Maybe you even want to do like a little lore series. But another big thing you should do probably during this time, right when you're starting your card game, is join up as many homemade trading card game Discord servers as you can. I'll leave a link in the description to mine and a few others, and there you can talk about card games, learn advice from others, get tips and critiques from others. You can find people to play test your game on untap.in, which is a place where you can upload your whole database of cards, where you just take a picture of each card, upload it there, and then play it, which is super fun. But yeah, so join a bunch of Discord servers, make some connections. It's good to get networking. Basically, grow your fan base there. So what I mean by that is when you really talk to people and gain their trust, you'll have a loyal backing to your game. So then people are going to want to play your game. They're going to want to support you and buy your packs and stuff. So definitely make sure to just meet as many different people as you can, be kind, be friendly, and really build a network and a fan base around your game. Now, the next step is optional, but if you really want a good way to start your card game, I sometimes just draw a little timeline of the first lore and just write down some important checkpoints in the lore, so then it'll inspire me to make cards for that set. This little timeline can include anything you want, but I usually just create some sort of base story just so my card game isn't just going in a blind direction. And then, whenever I just don't know what to make a card about, I can always look at these basic checkpoints in the lore and make a card based on them. Heck, you can even draw a little map for your game and make some continents and, make different areas or different types of cards come from those continents. Like maybe fire cards come from here, earth cards come from the jungle, and water cards come from this little coast here. Or maybe you want to be a little different and not make a map for your game. Maybe your game takes place on a dreamscape, or maybe a dream itself, or something kind of more philosophical. Next, just basically write down mechanics you like from other card games, or all your favorite things from other card games. And if you haven't played any card games, go join those TCG servers and play other people's card games, or play Magic the Gathering. Learn about things you like. Do you like gamble effects? Do you like maybe certain art styles? Do you like, certain win conditions? When you make your card game, don't copy, but you can definitely take elements you like from other card games. Like, for example, if you like a resource system like Magic, you can always just create some sort of pool of cards where you just draw from that, and then you put it down, and then you maybe tap it or something to summon cards. But honestly, you should also be original, but when it comes to your first TCG, you honestly have no experience, so it's okay to use some mechanics from other card games. But you should also at least create one unique thing. Like maybe it's a unique way to get resources, maybe it's a unique way for combat, maybe you don't even have combat in your TCG, maybe you have a really unique win condition. So try to be somewhat creative with your first TCG, but then again, it's your first card game, so don't feel like it has to be so alienated compared to all the other card games. It's okay to take certain common mechanics that everyone else uses. All right, now that we have all the planning and stuff out of the way, we're going to be making our first cards. Now, I usually just take any card template. It can be a poker card, it can be a Magic card, and then just trace it out in your sketchbook. Or if you don't have a card, it's just 2.5 by 3.5 inches. Okay, so now that I have a little thing traced out, I'm going to be designing the template. Now, when designing template, you can go free flow where you don't even use a ruler. You just kind of make each card a unique piece of art, or you can use a ruler. Keep in mind, when you're making a handmade template, make sure it's not too complicated because you're going to be having to repeat this a bunch of times for each card. So make sure it's easy enough to repeat. There's definitely some common tropes when it comes to making TCGs, and I always follow the law of 3. So there's an attack stat, there's a defense stat, and then there's a cost. And then of course you can always add types if you want to get more complex with your card game. So you can make a template however you want. This is literally the most basic template I can think of. So you have your name box, you have your type, attack, defense, and maybe the cost of the card. And then of course you got an ability box if you want to give your cards abilities. Now what you can do if you really want to make your cards look even better, you can get a fine liner. I personally use 0.1 or 0.3, and then you just trace over all the lines with a fine liner, so then it just stands out and is more bold, so it looks kind of more like this instead of a pencil template. But if you don't have a fine liner, it's fine if you just use pencil, of course. This fine liner is kind of dying, so that doesn't look the best. But anyways, there's usually 2 types of cards when it comes to TCGs, like 2 basic types. There's usually the creature cards, or basically the cards that do all the fighting, and then there's the action cards or effect cards that, influence the tides of the battle. Those templates would probably vary, like maybe for a spell card you have a cost and then a spell type. Like, is it temporary where when you play it you discard it, or is it a permanent where it stays out on the battlefield? So, you can make a bunch of different types if you want. So right here I just put the little type. Since it's a rock card, I made a little rock symbol, so that's going to be one of the types in this game. And then I'm going to be calling this card Rocker. So we're going to let this dry before we erase it all, because when erasing fine liner, sometimes it smudges, so you got to give it a few minutes to dry. But I'm going to be sketching out the base of our character. Okay, so this is the basic design of our character. He's looking like a rock dude. And now I'm just going to be coloring in the stat box, so then it looks a little better. Now you can leave these white if you want, and just color in the art itself, but I do recommend coloring in the rest of it so it looks better. There's a few different techniques when coloring in with colored pencils, so it doesn't just look all jagged. And you can even use something called a colorless blender to make it look really smooth, but if you don't have that, it's fine. All right, so what I usually like to do is some sort of circular motions and really lightly, just so it all looks good. But you can use like a little hatching technique or just like a straight line. It's really up to you, but I personally think that the circular motion using colored pencils, it takes a little bit longer, but it looks a little bit better. So I'll get back to you once I finish coloring it in. And then once I'm done coloring this in, I'm going to be taking a picture of this card, uploading it to a Canva document that's 825 by 1125 pixels, which is the exact size of a trading card. And then you can even put a little border around it or just plop in the artwork itself. And then you can upload it to like a Word document or a Google Doc and then print out a bunch of copies of this card. So then you can cut them out and play them with your friends. So you'll have a whole deck. And then if you don't want to like just play them with your friends, you can always, like upload them to Canva and then use those actual templates and upload them to the Game Crafter and then sell your cards if you so wish. But Honestly, if you don't want to play with your friends in person, you can just upload them to Untap so you can play with your online community. Now, if you want to use this exact template, go ahead. I mean, it's not like it's my template. I just created it just for the video, so feel free to. But it does look pretty generic, so if you want to get more creative, feel free to do that. All right, so now I'm just going to rub away the pencil marks, and now I can color in the rock itself. And then maybe in a month or two, you're going to have this whole sketchbook filled up with tons of really cool looking cards, and then you can have a whole set of cards to play test with your friends. And it's literally the best feeling when your friends finally get to play with your cards and you see the cards and the artworks come to life and all the combos and strategies. And in future videos, I'll be teaching you how to balance, make more sets, how to just actually make a good TCG in general with tips and stuff. But this is just the basic video, the more introduction to the world of making your own homemade card games, but there's so much more to explore and so much more to experience. So don't just think it's just making the cards. There's a lot more than just that. As far as shading, I like to just use a slightly darker tone and just kind of go over the edges to make it look more three-dimensional. But of course, if you like that flat 2D shape or style, then you don't have to do this. Okay, so I have our little rock dude colored in. He's looking really awesome, and now I just got to give him an ability. So as far as combat and defense go, I usually like to stick to lower numbers, like not in the thousands. I usually just stick from 1 to 10. So maybe he's a 2 attack, 2 life creature. So if you don't know how TCG combat works, basically you just compare the attacking stat to the life stat, and if it's over, it pretty much kills it and stuff like that. Or you can use damage counters, but yeah. So then how I usually balance a card is take its attack plus its life and then divide that by 2. So 2 plus 2 is 4, divide by 2, that's a 2 cost. And then you can always add more if it's got a really good ability. Like for example, if I say when killed, draw a card. Draw support is so good, and especially when it's on a creature, that would probably even add maybe 1 to 2 more cost to that card. But for the example, I'm not going to be giving it ability. I'm just going to be giving it some flavor text so it looks cool. Flavor text doesn't really do anything. It just kind of gives your card more personality. Just make sure to put quotations so people know it's flavor text. And then if you're making a set, maybe put the set symbol. Like maybe that's the set symbol, and maybe it's card number 1 out of 100. And then you can even put your who the artist is. Like my name's Dane, so I could just put Dane there. And then yeah, boom, you have your first card. And now you can make a bunch more. You can even design archetypes, but that's for a separate video. But yeah, just have fun creating characters, building your world, and then you can watch it all come to life when you finally play your game with your friends. So that was the first video of the TCG Academy. I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.